back. This is lecture 5, lists and for loops. We'll be covering sections 4.1 and 4.5 here. The order in which commands are executed by a program is its flow of control. Okay, the order in which commands are executed, how the program flows, that's precisely the flow of control. By default, statements are executed in the order in which they are given. So you write a statement, next statement, next statement, so it will go in the order it is given. A different execution order can be specified using control structures. So when you don't follow the order, but you have to move aside and do something else, that's an example of a control structure. For example, the for loop is one such control structure. Okay, for loop is a control structure. The repetition of a series of steps for each item of a sequence is called iteration. When you repeat series of steps for each item of a sequence, it is called iteration. A for loop always begins with the syntax for identifier in sequence, followed by a block of code we call body. Okay, here is the first example. For person in guess, print person. What is guess? Okay, so let's write this down. Okay, here is the concrete example. Suppose you have guess is the list Carol, Alice, Bob. I'm saying for person in guess, don't forget there is a colon. That is the syntax for the for. So what is this person? It is a running variable. Basically, it's an identifier which goes through this list one after the other from left to right. Okay. When I hit enter here, you see it automatically indents. Okay, my Python shell idle, it has that feature. What am I going to do now? I want to print hello, my name is comma person. Okay, let's look at this code. Hello, my name is, close the string, comma. That comma introduces a space. Okay, print string, that comma will give me a space, and person. Who is this person? Aha, that person is the identifier which goes through this list. Okay, let me enter, and it's still waiting. Maybe it wants me to write something more. I don't have anything here. So I will hit another enter. There you go. My name is Carol. That was the first name. Then by default setting, print goes on to new line. Hello, my name is Alice. New line. Hello, my name is Bob. Okay. So why is hello, my name is getting repeated? Because that's common. So for every person in this list, it's printing this sentence. Okay. So now let's try something else. Right? My string equals, say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay. Now for character in my string. So that is the iteration I'm going to go through. my string, don't forget colon. When you hit enter, you are indented automatically. I want to say print, what should we say? Print char, comma, quotes is the character now. All right. So hit enter once. That means it's waiting for me to do something more. So say print, this should be on a new line. Okay, let's see what happens. It's still waiting for more commands. I don't have any more commands, so I'll hit another enter. There you go. So what did it do? A is the first character now. So because I went through A first, my char was A first. Full stop. New line by default. This should be a new line. So again, next line. Now I have fulfilled both these obligations. You understand? So this part is called body of the for loop. So char is done with A. Now char will go to B. B is the character now, right? And then this should be a new line. So you see, both these things, both these commands have to be implemented, all right, for every character in the string. So that's an example of for loop. Okay, so let's understand our theory here. So your sequence could be a list, your sequence could be a string as we just saw, your sequence can even be a tuple, all right, as long as you can iterate on it, you can play the for loop on it, all right. So what is happening pictorially, guess is this particular list. Person is going through this list. In the first instance, my person identifier, that label, is stuck on the very first entry, Carol. Then it fulfills this obligation and goes back to Alice, fulfills that obligation, that goes back to Bob, fulfills that obligation. Okay. A for loop can technically iterate upon an empty sequence. There are no elements. Okay, the body of the loop is never executed. So for example, I will say my string instead of all of this, suppose I give it empty string. Okay, now suppose I say for char in my string print char is the character now. Okay, suppose this is what I do. It printed nothing. Why? Because there was nothing. So there was no technical, though no syntactic error, it just did not have anything to do. Okay. Here is another example. Suppose you say balance is 0. And transactions is the list 200, negative 50 and 100. We are saying for entry in transactions, balance is balance plus entry. Okay. Note, you may as well write it as balance plus equals. That is same as balance plus. Okay. So this entire thing can be shortened in this fashion. Balance plus equal means balance equals balance plus. Okay. Entry. You go through this And now you say print your balance is balance. Let's see what happens. Okay, what do you think happened? Initially balance was 0. Transactions were 200, negative 50 and 100. For entry in transactions, so I have a for loop going on, an iteration. My identifier or my variable is going to go through this list. First it goes to 200 and balance was 0 plus 200. Now my new balance is 200. Next, entry goes to negative 50, 200 plus negative 50, 150. Then entry is 100, 150 plus. Okay, so now this is kind of tricky to keep track of. So how about this? Let's say balance is 0. For entry in transactions, notice my transactions have not changed at all. Balance equals balance plus entry. Okay, let me print the current balance. Okay, the current balance equal space balance. So now you can see what's happening in each step. So an iteration is a very nice way, and using print statement with it tells you various stages of what's happening. Okay, so here is a pictorial representation of what's happening. To begin with, balance is 0, then entry was 200, balance became 200, then entry was negative 50, adding negative 50 to it became 150. You see precisely what you expect. Lastly, entry is at 100, adding 100, so negative 50 brought me to 150, then entry is 100, add to it 250. All right, so since the print statement above is not indented, that's an important thing. Notice the print statement here. It is not indented, it is unindented. So this gets printed at the end. So in the first case, we printed after completing the for loop, and in the second case, we printed within the for loop, that is within the body. So you had several. So when you are working with for loops, if you have several statements, you know you have indented it. Okay. All right. So I'll continue on the next video with this lecture. Okay.